here we start with one of the most scoring topic in income tax, and that is set off and carry forward of losses. It's a simple concept. And what if I say there are six heads of income? Nahi, ma'am, you said five heads of income are there: salary, employer-employee relationship, house property, owner-tenant, business or profession. If you transfer a capital asset and residuary. So there are five heads of income. But when it is coming to exams, as good as the five heads is the weightage of set off and carry forward. Separate question is asked for 7 to 8 marks, and then one MCQ is there or one case scenario is there. So this makes it very important, very scoring, and it is very easy. Okay, there are some rules. I call it like your board mass rules. How we have the rules inbuilt in our mind that minus minus is plus or plus minus is minus. Those maths rules are inbuilt, right? And we solve the equation. It's not that we are doing maths, but in costing, definitely we apply maths up to simultaneous equation. That simple is the knowledge that, okay, now I have income from all the five heads. But in the five heads, one or two head, I may have a loss. So now inner column is called as within the head set off. Okay. So this whole chapter we will divide into two parts and we will do a quick revision. One is, can we set off mutually within the same head, intra head? Like, siblings fighting, brother and sister, parents के पास क्यों जाना है? चलो हम ही सुलझा लेंगे. Yeah. So intra head adjustment is within the same head. Can we set off the losses? House property 1, there is a loss. House property 2, profit. House property. Can we set off? Yes. But there are some rules. That's what is intra head within the same. Now it's not possible. Siblings fight is not getting solved, and now we need to go to mummy or we need to go to papa. So we are going out and taking help of our family members. Same way is interhead. When intrahead set off is not proper possible, house property there is loss only, H1, H2, H3. Can we set off house property loss with others? Yes, but if you are opting out and up to a limit of 2 lakh. So what I'm saying is, first try to set off the losses mutually within the same head. If not possible, go out and take help of your neighbors. Okay, that is interhead. And if that is also not possible, then carry forward. For how many years? Maybe 4 years, maybe 8 years, maybe indefinite years. And next year, it will be set off in the same head. That's all for this chapter. Super scoring. And even though I complete the revision in 25 to 30 minutes, the practice batch includes the questions, and quality good questions of past exams are also included. That will really make it very perfect. So shall we quickly begin? What is the first rule for, I have made some notes last time when we have done this. So if you want, you can write, check it, or पहले समझ लो. लेकिन चलो, set off and carry forward of losses is divided into two parts. The first one is the set off. Okay. And it starts with section 70. It says intersource losses of same head to be set off in same head. I call it as intra head set off within the same head. Okay. So how many? Acha, listen. When will you come to this step? Five heads income is over. Someone else's income clubbed in my hands, minor's income clubbed my spouse. All clubbing is done. So now do the total and get gross total income, give deductions, get total income, pay the tax. But while doing total, if there is a loss, should I do it or not? Presentation is the only part I feel if you concentrate little bit. Concepts I have discussed with so many of you one-on-one doing doubt clearing, you all know it, right? So let us together revise it very quickly. चलो साथ में करते हैं इसको. So the first one is within the same head, intra head. Can we set off the losses within the same head? Yes. Let us start beginning with salary. In case of salary, basic DA, commission, allowance, perquisite, whatever is gross salary, standard deduction is allowed up to 50,000 if you opt out of default tax regime. 75,000 if you opt in for default tax regime. In short, in case of the salary, there's no chance of loss. I hope you are getting. From the gross salary, deductions are up to the gross salary or maximum 50,000 or 75,000. And entertainment allowance and PT also deductible if you opt out for default tax regime with some limitation. So no loss in case of the salary. Now come to house property. House property, one, there's a profit. House property, two, there is a loss. Can we set off? Yes. Now come to business loss. Here, two types of profits and losses are there, speculative and non-speculative. Please go and check the first page of your DT compiler for business head. There I have given you what are speculative incomes. Okay. So speculative business ka income and loss you keep separately, and non-speculative or normal business income and loss you keep separately. Yeah, but in normal business, can we have two, three businesses? Yeah, we are doing trading, we are manufacturer, we manufacture leather items, and we do trading of the textile showroom, and we are also into restaurants. Yeah, it's possible. So now the thumb rule for the business head is business loss can be set off in business profit. Business loss, tick mark, can be set off in speculative profit also. Business loss you can set off in business profit. Business loss you can set off in speculative profit. But speculative loss, it's already in the block. It is rigid. Speculative loss can be set off only in speculative profit. Ma'am, but there's no speculative profit. Then carry forward the speculative loss for 4 years. Speculative loss cannot be set off in business profit. Nice diagram. You don't have to make this diagram in exam, but if this, I called it as mind mapping. If this is clear, no, you will be able to apply this and solve the question so well. ठीक है ना? चलो. Now, once again, salary, no question of loss. House property, intra-head, it's possible. Business head, intra-head is possible for business loss. Business loss can be set off in business gain. Business loss can be set off in speculative profit. But speculative loss can be set off only in speculative profit. Now coming to long-term capital gain. Can you see a box? Huh? Capital gain chapter is most narrow-minded, rigid. They don't come out of their house. Who are staying in the capital gain house? Short-term capital gain and long-term capital gain. So now check the rule for short-term capital loss. Huh? You get short-term capital loss now when you hold the shares and all for less than 1 year, other properties and all for less than 24 months. So short-term capital loss can be set off in short-term capital gain. Short-term capital loss can be set off in long-term capital gain, but they cannot go out of their house. I hope you are getting. Huh? There's a bungalow in the row house colony, and that belongs to capital gain. In that ground floor, short-term capital gain and loss are staying. So they are setting off mutually. Okay. In the duplex house, first floor is staying long-term capital gain. Hito is not ready to come down and meet his younger brother also. Are you getting? Who's the most rigid in the duplex house? Long term capital loss can be set off in long term capital gain. Long term capital loss cannot be set off in short term capital gain. Are you all with me? So, long term capital gain, where he's staying in the duplex house? First floor. He's not ready to come down and meet his younger brother short term capital gain. That's why long term capital loss cannot come down and set off with short term capital gain. But long term capital loss can be set off in long term capital gain. Long term capital loss cannot be set off in short term capital gain. Upar ke upar. Long term capital loss is staying in the duplex house first floor. It can be set off only in long term capital gain. Long term capital loss cannot be set off in long term, short term capital gain. But ground floor mein who is staying? Short term capital loss. Can it be set off in ground floor only with the other short term capital gain? Yes. Short term capital loss, can it climb and go to the elder brother on the first floor? Long term capital gain? Yes. So did you observe one thing? Short-term capital loss is little flexible, but long-term capital loss is rigid, and ultimately they both are rigid. In short, capital gain loss cannot be set off with salary, house, property, business, and other sources. नहीं होता. हाँ. In short, long term is so not ready to come to ground floor, and short term is not ready to come out and meet his neighbors. Now listen, they are not coming out. Can we go to the house of the short term capital gain? क्या हम उनके घर जा सकते हैं? चाय नाश्ता कर सकते हैं? Ground floor? Answer is yes. Short term capital loss cannot come out of the house. In short, short term and long term both can be set off in their own rooms only. But can we set off salary में तो there's no question of loss. Can we set off house property loss with short term capital gain and long term capital gain? Yes. Can we set off business loss? ये देखो मैंने यहाँ पे वही लिखा है. Can we set off house property loss in short term and long term capital gain? Yes. House property is saying they are rigid. They are not ready to come out of their house or walk in our lane by lane. We will go and meet their house and we will have the chai nashta and samosa. Is it allowed? Yes. So house property loss can be set off in the short term capital gain and long term capital gain? Yes. Business loss can be set off in the short term capital loss gain and long term capital gain? Answer is yes. Is it clear to all of you? Huh? And last one is income from other sources. Income from other sources, all the casual income is taxable. Say you're winning from lotteries, online gaming, PUBG, and all. Nowadays, that's 78% income, which is undisclosed and all. But subject to four rules: no deduction from casual income, no deduction. Okay, I have won a prize in KBC and I have put 50,000 in PPF. Will I get any deduction? No. No expenses allowed. Okay, I won KBC, but then going from Hyderabad to Mumbai, lodging, boarding, flight ticket, all not allowed. No basic exemption. Okay, I am one in KBC 4 lakh rupees, but at least give 2.5 lakh basic exemption. Nahi milta na. And no set off. Can we set off casual income with the other heads? Answer is no. In short, casual income is taxable at flat 30%. Few cases at 78% undisclosed income and all we have studied. But from this, four things: no deduction, no basic expenses, exemption, no basic exemption, no expenses are allowed, and no other losses can be set off in the casual income. You'll have to pay fixed tax for it. Okay, right. In income from other sources, only case loss is to be carried forward is if you are owning and maintaining horse races. Yeah, in Hyderabad also we have a race course. So horse races ke business mein if there is a loss, you can carry it forward to be set off in horse races. Other than this, income from other source also no question of loss. Like salary, no question of loss. Oops. Nice. You want to write it? Then take your time. This will make you learn for sure. लिख लो इसको. 2 minutes time. I'll go to my notes also, but this one is the most easiest one. Any doubt? And draw the block. Who is rigid? Who is double rigid? Long-term capital loss and income from other sources. No question of loss, except for owning and maintaining horse races. Both ways is okay. You just want the concept for the one shot revision video, then okay, if you want to practice few important questions, this being a small topic, then also we can do. Okay, I want to say the gist again. First rule of the set off and carry forward chapter is intra-head. Within the same head, can you set off the loss? Answer is yes. Salary, no question of loss. Income from house property. House property 1, there is a profit. House property 2, there is a loss. Can we set off? Yes. Business loss can be set off in business profit. Business loss can be set off in speculative profit. Chalega. But speculative loss is rigid. It's in box. It can be set off in speculative profit only. Speculative loss cannot be set off in business profit. Next now, long-term capital loss. They both are staying in a duplex house. Who? Short-term and long-term. Short-term capital loss and gain are staying in ground floor. So short-term capital loss can be set off in short-term capital gain. Short-term capital loss can be set off in long-term capital gain. ये दोनों में होगा. In short, short-term capital loss in their own houses, ready to go and meet his elder brother who stays on first floor and is not even ready to come down on ground floor. Who is that rigid? Long-term capital gain. So short-term capital loss दोनों में set off होगा. But long-term capital loss only in long-term capital gain. Followed? Long-term capital loss cannot be set off in short-term capital gain. And both of them are in their block. Means they don't, who? Long-term capital loss and short-term capital loss, they never come out of their house and meet their neighbors. But who are the neighbors? Other head. Salary, so there's no question of loss. House property, business head, and other source are saying, can we go to their house and have tea, samosa? Answer is yes. Can we set off house property loss with the capital gain? Yes. Business loss with the capital gain? Yes. Other source में तो कोई सवाल ही नहीं है loss आने का. It's not allowed to show loss in other source except for owning and maintaining horses to be set off in same. That's all for the first step. This chapter is divided into 3 parts. First part is over. Intra-head. Now, if intra-head is not over, within the same head, we did lot of jol, but it's not possible. Now, let us go out of our house and take the help of the neighbors. So that's called as inter-head adjustment. Inter-head adjustment. Okay. Okay, rather than just going very fast, very important to recollect. Within the same head, salary, no question of loss. House property, can we set off H1, H2? Yes, allowed. Then comes the business head. House property, there is one rule. I'll tell you in the inter head. Abhi we are in intra head. And in the business, can we set off business loss in business income as well as business loss in the speculative income? Yes. But speculative loss can be set off only in speculative income. Speculative loss cannot be set off in the business income. Otherwise, it can be carried forward. If there's no speculative income to set off speculative loss. Coming to capital gain, the most rigid head. In that also, short-term capital loss can be set off in short-term capital gain. Short-term capital loss can be set off in long-term capital gain. So in the duplex house, it's going and meeting the elder brother. Long-term capital gain is the most rigid. It's staying only in the first floor. So long-term capital loss can be set off in long-term capital gain. Long-term capital loss cannot be set off in short-term capital gain. It's not ready to come down and meet the younger brother. And two of them are also very rigid. Long-term and short-term losses can be set off only like this, what I said. They are not ready to go out and meet their neighbors. Okay, right? And now coming to income from other sources, there's no question of loss. Like from dividend also, interest is allowed only up to 20%. But yeah, if there is a casual income, no question of losses, because from casual income, say if you are winning a lottery, not even the lottery ticket cost is allowed. No basic exemption is allowed. No other losses can be set off. No chapter 6A deductions are allowed. Nothing. Only case you can get loss in income from other sources is business of owning and maintaining horse races. that loss can be set off in owning and maintaining horse races income. If it's not there, it can carry forward. I may be repeating because that's the way this chapter is to be done. And after this 40 minutes of core revision, if you solve the questions given in the DT compiler, first 6 are practice questions and next 6 are past exam questions, you are done, sorted. Okay, chalo. Now, if you cannot set off within the same head, can you take help of your neighbors? We are all staying in gated colony. So can we go out and say hi, hello to our neighbors? First, only we know who's not going to come out of the house. Capital gain. They are not ready to set off with other house. Yeah. But can others go to the house of the capital gain? आप rigid है, हम आपके घर आके चाय नाश्ता बिस्किट समोसा खाएंगे. Who is saying this? House property loss. Can we set off in capital gain? Yes. Your business loss can be set off in the capital gain? Yes. Salary, no question of loss, others. So now once interhead is done, in intrahead set off are there, but two most important rules are added. I'll read, but I want all of you to learn orally. There are 5 heads of income. 1 and 3 are not friends. Who is the first one? Salary. Who is the third one? Business head. Business loss can never be set off in salary. 1 and 3 are not friends. या तो जॉब कर लो या तो बिजनेस करोगे, सब करोगे. Like this you remember. So salary and your business loss cannot be set off in salary. Can we set off business loss in house property? Yes. Can we set off business loss in capital gain? Yes. Can we set off business loss in other source? Yes. Everywhere else, no problem. हाँ, speculative loss तो अलग है, but normal business loss. So in short, when we are trying to do intra-head, the first point you have to remember is that the points which I have taught inter-head, वो तो है. Additionally, house business loss cannot be set off in salary. 1 and 3 are not friends. Now, coming to the crucial point, I can say for house property. House property loss can be set off with other heads up to 2 lakh rupees if you opt out of default tax regime. If you're filing your return in default tax regime, you cannot set off house property loss with other heads and you cannot even carry forward. Are you getting? If you are filing your return out of default tax regime, then house property loss can be set off with other heads up to 2 lakh. So if say house property loss is 360, 2 lakh you can set off in salary, baki 160 carry forward for 8 years to be set off in house property. But if you are filing a return in default tax regime, you cannot set off house property loss 1 rupee also with other heads and you cannot carry forward. In short, if there is house property loss, it will lapse. Same point, one little I have already told you in house property. In case of self-occupied house property, in case of default tax regime, you are showing in self-occupied property, you cannot show any loss. But if you opt out of default tax regime, in self-occupied property, interest on loan, see GAV is nil, NAV is nil, standard deduction nil. Still interest on loan is allowed up to 2 lakh. तो लॉस ही आएगा सेल्फ ऑक्यूपाइड प्रॉपर्टी में. कहां पे लॉस आएगा? If you opt out of default tax regime. If you are in default tax regime, self-occupied property, no loss. With other heads, no loss. Carry forward of loss, not. Very clear, this will be by practicing more questions. आ जाओ. Same thing I have given here. I'll share with all of you. Minute. So intra-head is over. Now interhead. Interhead says house property loss can be set off with other heads only up to 2 lakhs. Only up to 2 lakhs if you opt out of default tax regime under section 115 PAC. For example, salary income is 8 lakhs and house property loss is 3 lakh. 2 lakh you can set off house property loss with salary and remaining 1 lakh will be carried forward. This is true. If you are opting out of default tax regime, house property loss can be set off with others. If you are filing in default tax regime, you cannot set off. Second additional rule is business loss cannot be set off in salary. 1 and 3 are not friends. Okay. So these are the points you have to remember. I'll repeat from the notes. Now, interhead we did. Intrahead. See, within intrahead, we tried. Then we took the help of neighbors. Still there is loss. House property loss, I tried to set off with others just now up to 2 lakh. Still there is loss. So can we carry forward losses? Yes. All the losses can be carried forward, some for 4 years, some for 8 years, indefinite period. But next year to be set off in the same head. House property loss carry forward to be set off next year in house property. Business loss, business. Capital gain, like that. Owning and maintaining house is same. Okay. Most important condition is if there is a loss and you want to carry forward this loss to be set off, it's mandatory to file your return on time. Like for non-tax audit, 31st July 25 is the last date. For tax audit 30th, uske pehle you'll have to file the return. That's what is given now. Look at the screen, the third part. Carry forward of the losses. All the losses can be carried forward for 8 years to be set off in the same head, except speculative loss and loss in case of owning and maintaining horse races that you can carry for. I have done grouping so that it's easy for you to remember. All the losses to be carried forward for 8 years, except speculative loss and loss due to horse races to be carried forward for 4 years. Unabsorbed depreciation to be carried forward for indefinite period. It's called Brahmas. Unabsorbed depreciation के कारण अगर लॉस ज्यादा आ रहा है तो बढ़ा दो, but you'll have to charge depreciation. It's mandatory. So say there was a loss of 2 lakh before depreciation. Now if I charge depreciation 3 lakh, this is like 5 lakh. So how much is the business loss? 2 lakh. And this unabsorbed depreciation loss can be carried forward for indefinite period to be set off in any other head. See, normally when you carry forward loss, you have to set off in the same head. House property, speculative, owning and maintaining horse races, same. But unabsorbed depreciation can be set off next year also. It can go and meet the neighbors. वो कॉलोनी में कहीं भी घूम सकते हैं दिन रात, except salary. Why, ma'am? Why house property loss cannot be set off in salary? Because 1 and 3 are not friends. Now, 35 AD. You remember 2-star and above hotel, multi-speciality hospital, redevelopment of slums and all. This 35 AD loss can be carried forward for indefinite period to be set off in 35 AD only. There could be the change of the business and all. कि पहले आप होटल में थे, अब आप साइंटिफिक रिसर्च प्रोडक्शन ऑफ फर्टिलाइजर में हो, ओके. But 35 AD, revenue and capital expenditure all are allowed. Yeah, other than cost of land. If you remember the questions also we have done in business ed. So then 35 AD, if there is a loss, it can be carried forward for indefinite period to be set off. Okay, right. Now, house property loss set off with other heads up to 2 lakh if return filed, that too in the normal tax regime. House property loss set off with other heads not allowed. Self-occupied interest also, it is not allowed. Default tax regime में neither you can set off house property loss with other heads nor you can carry forward. इसमें एक और भी ऐड कर दो, not even carried forward, वो भी allowed नहीं. ठीक है? So here we complete the 1.5 page gist notes. And now over to the concept in the compiler. This compiler, I am again and again saying quality good 12 questions are there in set off. If you do that, the more you practice, it's like maths, this chapter. And please don't take it leniently and don't leave it in choice. If something you can be very sure that you're going to score marks in exam, one is house property, another is set off. सेट ऑफ सेपरेटली क्वेश्चंस आर आस्क्ड बेटा, तो ये बहुत स्कोरिंग है. चलो जल्दी से रिवाइज करते हैं. सेट ऑफ एंड कैरी फॉरवर्ड. First is inter-source within the same head. Hmm. One source within the same head. Loss from one source can be set off in another source in the same head. B1, B2, H1, H2, like that. Except speculative loss can be set off in speculative profit and not. Whereas business loss can be set off in speculative. ये मैंने diagram में बताया. Long term loss can be set off only against long term capital gain and not against short term capital gain. Short term capital loss can be adjusted both against long term capital gain एंड शॉर्ट टर्म कैपिटल. समझ में आ रहा है? शॉर्ट टर्म दोनों में एडजस्ट हो रहा है, शॉर्ट टर्म में भी लॉन्ग टर्म में, बट लॉन्ग टर्म कैन बी एडजस्टेड ओनली, लॉस कैन बी एडजस्टेड ओनली इन लॉन्ग टर्म कैपिटल. लॉस from owning and maintaining horse races, same business. Gambling, winning from lotteries, and casual income. If there is a loss, this is asked so much in the exam. Ignore with a note. See, casual income, winning from lotteries, KBC, nowadays online gaming, Dream 11, PUBG, all this. No question of loss only. Neither expenses are allowed, nor deduction is allowed, nor basic exemption is allowed, nor other to loss. आएगा कहाँ से? But if there is a loss, it will lapse. Neither it can be set off nor it can be carried forward. Just we'll write a note and leave it. That's what gist I have given now, not repeating again and again. Interhead. Loss from one head can be set off with income of other head, except speculative loss on cannot be set off with other heads. Array speculative loss is not even set off in business income. Udhar ke udhar. So how is it going to set off with other heads? Business loss cannot be set off with salary. 1 and 3. डोंट राइट दिस डायलॉग इन एग्जाम, क्योंकि दीप्ति मैम ने सिखाया है याद करने के लिए बेटा. बिजनेस लॉस कैन नॉट बी सेट ऑफ इन सैलरी, एंड एटलीस्ट 2 to 3 times they'll give you salary problem, and last they will say this salaried person has 50,000 brought forward business loss. You cannot set off. ठीक है? Short term and long term capital loss cannot be set off with other heads. Other losses can be set off. Can we go to their house and have the tea coffee? Yeah. Losses from owning and maintaining horse races, udhar ke udhar. Losses from gambling cannot be set off anywhere. And this one I have revamped. आपको लिखना है तो अच्छे से लिख लो. It was there, but थोड़ा सा उसको लैंग्वेज मैंने और फर्निश कर दिया. आप लिख लो, नहीं है आपके पास. Loss from house property. In case of default tax regime, it cannot be set off with other heads, nor it can be carried forward. House property loss cannot be set off interhead with other heads, nor it can be carried forward. In case of opting out of the default tax regime, if you are opting out of the default tax regime, then if you are opting out, then house property loss can be set off with other heads up to 2 lakh. Balance can be carried forward to be set off only in house property. Is this clear? Default tax regime, house property loss, neither can be set off nor can be carried forward with other heads. In case of opting out of default tax regime, you can set off house property loss with other heads up to 2 lakh. Beyond that, it will be carried forward. Okay? Right. Chalo. Now we will do the carry forward of the losses. Now, this is the last aspect, dear students. We tried our best to set off intrahead घर के घर में. We tried our best to set off interhead. चलो दूसरे किसी की हेल्प लेते हैं, मम्मी की हेल्प लेते हैं. मम्मी की बात कौन सुनते हैं बच्चे? So now we will go to the head of the family and we'll say, okay, we'll take it over next day. ऐसे ही होगा आपका ये. Try first within the head, if not intrahead. If not, carry forward, but make sure you file your return on time. You want to carry forward loss and set off in the coming 4 years, 8 years, but you didn't file the return on time, your loss will lapse. You will not get the benefit of carry forward, except 1 or 2. तो अब देखते हैं ये देखो. Carry forward of the losses. See, they're directly starting with house property beta. Salary में तो कोई loss का chance ही नहीं है. House property loss can be set off for 8 years to be set off in house property. Business loss can be set off for 8 years in the business end. Unabsorbed depreciation can be carried forward for indefinite period to be set off anywhere except salary. Speculative loss will be carried forward for 4 years to be set off in speculative income. Short term and long term capital loss 8 years. Short term में दोनों लिखा है, short term और long term में वही लिखा. Loss from activity of owning and maintaining horse races 4 years. Chalo. Same business, owning and maintaining horse races 4 years. Loss from specified business, 35D, 2-star and above hotel, warehouses and all. Indefinite period you can carry forward loss to be set off. Now take a pause and do the diagramming I am doing. 4 years तक कौन से लॉस कैरी फॉरवर्ड कर सकते हैं? स्पेक्युलेटिव लॉस, स्पेक्युलेटिव इनकम में, हॉर्स रेसेस में 4 years. Indefinite period, which two losses you can do? Unabsorbed depreciation or 35 AD. All the other losses can be carried forward for 8 years to be set off in the same head. Whenever losses are carried forward. Acha. Now, clear or not? Is this diagram very nice? Just look at this compiler's notes. पहले inter source, फिर inter head, अब carry forward, अब थोड़े से points और खत्म. All types of losses can be carried for 8 years except speculative and horse races for 4 years. Only in case of loss of owning and maintaining horse races, business must be carried on. I can set off my 3 years old textile loss now in my coaching business. It's not necessary कि textile business आज भी चलना चाहिए to set off the loss. I hope you are getting. Textile business is closed 3 years back. Now I am into coaching. So can I set off old textile loss now in other business income? Yes. But only in case of owning and maintaining horse races, you can carry forward and set off loss in the same income for the next 4 years, provided business must be carried on. Okay? Right. As per section 18, in order to carry forward loss, it is mandatory to file the return on time mentioned in the due date, July and all, except house property and in case of unabsorbed depreciation. Unabsorbed depreciation is for indefinite period. So these two losses can be carried forward even if the return is not filed on time. Generally 99.9% the SSC will try कि भाई पहले ही रिटर्न भर दो ताकि स्मूथली लॉसेस कैरी फॉरवर्ड करने मिले. But in case of house property or in case of unabsorbed depreciation, even if they are little late in filing the return, they will be allowed to carry forward the loss. Any unabsorbed depreciation will be carried forward for unlimited and they are fully written off and all. Okay. Loss of the SSC claiming deduction under 35AD can be set off in the profit under 35AD, irrespective whether later is eligible or not. 35AD का last 35AD में ही होगा. Maybe when you are trying to do it, that time you are not doing that business but some other business. I told you ना पहले 2-star and above hotel था, अब होटल को मल्टी स्पेशलिटी हॉस्पिटल, but it's a part of 35AD. ठीक है? Right. So what are the points to remember? All the losses can be carried forward for 8 years to be set off in same head, except unabsorbed depreciation and 35D can be carried forward for lifetime to be set off in same heads. Yeah. Next, speculative loss and horse races can be set off only for 4 years. दो 3 बार आपको पढ़ा दिया. Now most important point to take care while you set the order of the question and answers. When you solve current years, I have a business income 80 rupees, business loss 60. Now brought forward business loss 110. My business income is 80. My current year's CY. Current year's business loss is 60. Brought forward business loss is 110. I'll try to set off brought forward first because it's the 7th year, it will lapse. This though you can carry forward and do next year also, na? This will lapse. This is the 8th year. So this will lapse. Is it allowed like that? No. They will say from the business income, set off the current year's depreciation, scientific research, family, and all current years first. Then the brought forward business loss, then the unabsorbed depreciation or family planning and all if you have not claimed earlier for the earlier years. The gist of this, if you remember this much for the exam, it will be clear. Current year's depreciation and expenses charged first, brought forward loss, and then the unabsorbed depreciation of earlier years. Okay, right. That's all for set off and carry forward of losses, just revision. Now, if you comment below, ma'am, we want question answers, I'll bring a part 2 of it connecting with this, wherein you can solve all the question and answers. Just look at the question answers and the presentation. First, write the income in the 5 heads with some gap, and then you can go on filling the losses. And as I told you, first 5-6 questions, they are the basics. And now these are all past exam questions. But very nice. ये पूरे आपके past exam के questions. So that's all. Revise this funda. If you have any doubt, comment below. Like this clubbing also, just in 20 minutes I have given. Do watch that because these are chotu topics. But look at any past exam, you will see set off and carry forward separate question and MCQs also. Okay.